Alright guys, Jameson, Alex here. Today we're going to be talking about the Order of the Ghostslayer, which is the Blood Hunter subclass.
Yes.
So if you haven't checked out the Blood Hunter class video, make sure you check that out where we discuss all the features of that.
Might want to get your notepads out. Don't watch this one before you go to bed at night because you're like, you're kind of going to sleep and you're like, okay, no. This one's got to be like, get your notepad out and get your calculator out and make sure everything's on the same page there.
Yes. So if you're new to the channel or to the subclass series, what we are going to do is go through all of the abilities gained in the subclass, and then we're going to rate it based on its roleplay value, combat value, and overall class synergy based on how the abilities gained in this subclass improve on the base class abilities.
Indeed.
We also have a giveaway for the Players Bundle on D&D Beyond, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to be entered in that as well.
We're so close.
It's
so very close.
Got a couple rounds, so even if we hit that, we'll be doing another one after that.
That's right.
So, starting us off, Alex, at level 3 when we get our subclass.
This is one of those end of the row level 3s, so we don't get to be some of the cheaty subclasses and get it at 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Gotta wait all the way to level 3. So, you get an extra right with level 3 when you pick this subclass. You get the Rite of Dawn Esoteric Rite, as detailed below. Freebie!
Yes.
Your right damage is radiant damage. While this right is active, you gain the following benefits. Your weapon sheds bright light out to a radius of 20 feet. You have resistance to necrotic damage. Your weapon deals 1 additional Hemocraft die of right damage when you hit an undead. So you are a cleric blood hunter.
Yeah, basically.
Basically with things like that. Also, level 3, you are the curse specialist. Your ancient order teaches advanced mastery over blood curses. You gain an additional use of your blood maledict feature. In addition, your blood curses can target any creature, whether it has blood or not. And that's the interesting things like a construct or an undead normally doesn't have blood, so you can go ahead and get them anyway.
Yes, exactly. And it's very simple, but very effective, because the blood maledicts are some of your big boy sticks to hit stuff with.
Yes.
So getting extra use of it can definitely come in handy.
It's like, okay, so we use the one that marks something, so now it takes crit damage from our right, and it's undead, so it takes brutal critical from our right.
We'll take it.
Yes.
Then at level 7, we have Ethereal Step. At the start of your turn, if you aren't incapacitated, you can choose to magically step into the veil between planes. You can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, as well as see and affect creatures and objects on the ethereal plane. You take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside an object. If you're inside an object when the feature ends, you're immediately shunted to the nearest unoccupied space that you can occupy, and take force damage equal to twice the number of feet you moved. This feature less number of rounds equal to your intelligence modifier. When I first read through this, I was kind of confused because it says you take 1d10 force damage at the end of your turn if you're inside an object, but then you're also shunted out, and then you take twice the number of damage equal to the number of feet you moved.
Yes.
So think of it like this. Basically, if you're inside an object, when you end your turn, you take 1d10 force damage. Then, if you're inside an object, when the feature ends, when the feature ends, yes, there is that as well. You're shunted to nearest occupied space. You can take force damage equal to twice the number of feet you move. So if you're like 20 feet in the ground and then you shoot up, you're going to get annihilated by the force damage. That's going to be a ton of force damage. So you don't want to be sitting in the ground with this one. So yeah. And then you can use this feature once, and then at 15th level, you can use it twice between rests, and you regain all exponent uses on a short or long rest.
Right.
So here you go. Pretty easy. And then at level 11, we have Brand of Sundering. Your brand of castigation exposes a fragment, leaving them vulnerable to your Crimson Rite. Whenever you damage a branded creature with Crimson Rite, your weapon deals 1 additional Hemocraft die of Rite damage. In addition, the branded creature can't move through creatures or objects.
So I'm going to refer back to the thing I said earlier, where we said, we take extra. It rolls an extra time if you hit an undead. So if you hit an undead, it's going to roll an extra time on top of it already. So if it's a branded undead, you're rolling it 2 extra times. And if you take the blood maledict that lets it roll an extra time, it's going to go another time.
Yeah, you can stack it up for sure.
Sweet heavens to mercy if you roll a crit.
Yeah, you're going to be stacking them up.
You're just going to be annihilating idiots.
Yeah, again, very simple, but very effective.
But yeah, if you're playing a campaign full of undead stuff, you and a cleric are just going to be having damage battles.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to get that extra damage just on every single hit.
Yes,
which is simple but effective.
Yes. So at level 15, you're going to get access to the Blood Curse of the Exorcist. As with all the other subclasses with Blood Hunter, you do get one Blood Maledict Blood Curse that's specific to your subclass, and none of the other subclasses get. Blood Curse of the Exorcist is the one for Ghostslayer. As a bonus action, you can choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you that is charmed, frightened, and this is the unique one, possessed. Yes. That target is no longer charmed, frightened, or possessed. It's not a redo the save or anything like that. It's canceled. Dispel magic, done. If you choose to amplify it, the creature that caused that condition to take place suffers 3d6 psychic damage and is forced to make a wisdom saving throw. And if they fail that saving throw, they are stunned until the end of your next turn.
Like it. Very nice.
Please be an undead that caused that.
Yeah, right. Very nice. The stunning condition is one of the most devastating conditions.
Yes, absolutely. And finally, at level 18, we have Rite Revival. You learn to protect your fading life by absorbing your blood rite. When you are reduced to 0 hit points, while you have an active Crimson Rite, but don't die outright, a lot of specific modifiers there, the rite ends and you drop to 1 hit point instead. If you have rites active on multiple weapons, you choose which one ends. So it's a free, basically a free Death Ward, level 4 spell Death Ward, but instead of the magic. Yeah, that too.
You have Death Ward on you, and you're a half orc, and you have 2 Crimson Rites active. You can never go down.
You can never be killed unless it's, outright killed.
Yeah, there's that.
So that is all of the abilities gained in the subclass. Nothing super complicated. Outside of the ethereal step is a little bit of complex, but the rest of them super simple. With that said, move on to the ratings portion of the video.
Yes, so first up is the roleplay value, asterisk, as always. When talking about roleplay value, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order.
Right.
Not talking about class fantasy, history, lore, background. That is on you as a player. Can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in this subclass and how they might improve on the base class abilities. Yay. So, all of that being said, looking at the RP on the Ghostslayer here, there are a few abilities that could be used in niche circumstances. Looking at the ethereal step, you can pass through walls, so if there's like a locked door or something, you could go through it, though it does only last for a number of rounds equal to your intelligence modifier.
So you 6 seconds per round, you can't just hide in there.
You can't just be running around forever in the ethereal plane, so it's very limited use on there.
Yeah, but passing through a wall is probably the best. Or locked door is probably the best use, most common use for it anyway.
Or getting in, grabbing something, getting out, in a short period of time. Or there's some niche use again too with the Rite of the Dawn, with the radius of light around you, and who knows, necrotic damage maybe, depending on, maybe there's a layer or something that's dealing with necrotic damage, or there's a pool of necrotic damage or something, and you're trying to explore or get through it. There's some very, very niche uses on there, but the light, kind of like having a torch around you all the time, is potential as well. And then, of course, looking at everything else, it's a lot more on the combat side of things.
It is.
Getting an extra use of the Blood Maledict does free up
That's
the potential for some RP Blood Maledicts or Blood Curses.
Yep.
If you so choose to do that. So, pretty easy on this one. We just went with a 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
There are some nice options for it, but again, it is more on the niche side or on the indirect, where you're getting the extra.
And I think that's where for me the biggest of it came from, because it frees you up.
Right.
It's like I can use an RP Blood Maledict because I'm not using my only one. I've got an extra use.
It kind of goes along the veins of how we talk about in some of the other subclass videos, where it's like you get access to free spells for some of these subclasses, where it's like you get access to free RP spells that you can use, or you get access to free damage spells that let you take RP spells that you otherwise wouldn't have taken because you have those extra spells available.
Same concept.
Yeah. Falls in the same line.
Yep. So, Ian, as we say with all these videos, if it's a little on the weaker side on one, it usually does better on the other. And that's kind of a Blood Hunter thing in general. If you think of Blood Hunter, there's some cool RP flavor built into the way the class acts, for sure. There's a lot of really cool flavor. But it's not Blood Bard, or it's not Blood Theater Actor, it's Blood Hunter. You go in to get something. Yes. That's what Blood Hunters do. So you get a free extra esoteric rite to start with, because in base class you don't get an esoteric rite until you get 14 in order to get access to the 2 better ones in psychic damage or necrotic damage. That's when you get radiant to start with,
right?
Which is humble opinion, an A tier damage. The radiant necrotic are really good, very rarely resisted by non-celestials. I think that's the only thing that resists radiant damage.
Not a whole lot.
So that's very good damage type to have access to early. Resistant necrotic damage, sure, when it does happen, it's great. And then the extra damage on undead. As somebody who plays cleric, if you see undead, that's great. If you don't, okay, fine. So also at level 3 with Curse Specialists, getting access to that second use of your Blood Maledict, have to wait all the way to level 6 to get an extra choice.
Yeah.
To help your front end quicker, so you get not 1 but 2 uses.
Right.
So you can make sure you've always got one on hand when you need it. That's always great. Ethereal Step does let you get through people in combat. Like if you are kind of crammed into a tight space, like a tight room in a dungeon kind of a setup, you could get to one side of the room by going through people if you needed to. So that's there, but it's probably on the weaker side of the abilities in the subclass overall. Then things get real fun when you get into the double digits on the level stuff. A Brand of Sundering, making them vulnerable to your Crimson Right damage, so they're taking basically a crit from your right damage, basically. That's wonderful. Now, granted, that is 1 target per short rest, but whatever, the biggest, angriest thing is you want to go after, there you go. It's a free one, and you can take the Blood Maledict that also doubles that extra damage, so you can do it an extra time. And if it's undead, oh mercy, yay.
Yes.
Love it. Absolutely go in on them. And the addition, which is a cool flavor thing, that branded creature can't move through creatures and objects like you can, so you can move around stuff. So if you are playing with like some spectral stuff, is able to move through things. Again, Bloodhunter's very horror, undead, spectral, ghosty stuff. That's the way it plays. Bloodcurse of Exorcist in combat, getting rid of Charmed. Okay, could be very good if it happens. Frightened, better, because people that are frightened can't get closer to stuff. So if you got a barbarian that's frightened, he can't get in there and swing in melee like he wants to.
That's brutal.
And a lot of big angry dragons have what? Thing called Frightening Presence.
Yes.
That's if evil. But the ability to end possession, it's not a very common thing.
Yeah, you should use a spell to do something like that.
Right, but if you're able to just end it, all 3 of those abilities, it's not a resave or whatever. It just ends it. That can be very potent when it does occur. And finally, of course, Right Revival, just letting you end your Crimson Right to get yourself back up. We don't really love abilities like this because you're having to wait until it's a really bad situation to use the ability, but you've got it, so it's free. It's not like you're taking Death Ward as a spell, have to spend a spell slot to prepare for it. It's just one of the things, if it happens, cool. If not, good. It's one of those things I don't like having abilities where bad things have to happen in order for me to be able to use it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. 'Cause
you hope you never have to use that ability.
Yeah, when it does happen though, it's nice to have. But again, it's at level 18, so
may not get there. Scoring wise, we went with a 4 out of a possible 5 flumps. Again, extra chances for more Hemocraft die damage, more extra uses for your blood curses, so you can do it more often than the other subclasses can.
Right.
And if you happen to be fighting an undead heavy campaign, you are going to be the bane of their existence.
Yeah, it's going to be really nice in that circumstance. And then getting the esoteric right even that at level
right
off the bat.
Even if you're fighting a campaign that has 3 undead in the entire 50 session campaign, radiant damage is not resisted at all in comparison to fire, cold, lightning, the base primal rights you would be getting access to from the base class.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to keep in mind as well is with this subclass, getting the Blood Maledict extra use is massive, but then also the castigation, random castigation, dealing the extra damage each time you hit it.
Yeah.
You do only get 1 brand per short rest, which sure, whatever. But basically what that means is you're going to try to pick out the beefiest thing in the battlefield every single time and just mark it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get that extra damage on every hit you're taking.
Yeah, you're going to go in there and like, I want to 1v1 this thing. Your party's going to be like, you want the big guy? It's like, yes, I do.
You're dealing a pretty solid amount of damage just consistently. And then you have the extra Blood Maledict to pump out even more damage.
Yep.
Should you so choose to do so. All of that being said, brings us onto the synergy side of things, which kind of, as I just mentioned, with the Blood Maledicts giving you extra uses, can be awesome, lets you pump out more damage if you need to. With the Blood Hunter, the big things to synergize with are going to be your Blood Maledicts, your Hemocraft die, your Crimson Rights. Those are going to be your primary core functions for the base class.
Yeah. Anything that lets you triggering those more times, more uses of, work around those, buff from those.
So looking at the abilities on here, first off, you get an esoteric right off the bat, which is
Instead
great.
of waiting till 14 to get one.
Right. So that's nice.
That's great.
You also get extra use of the blood maledict. Again, very, very simple, very effective. Ethereal Step, not a big fan of this one. It can come into play. Maybe you're in a dungeon or something where you're attacking someone, and then you phase through the wall. At the end of your turn, they can't hit you back. At the beginning of your turn, you phase through the wall, you attack them, you phase back through. So you're just not vulnerable in the combat. Who knows? Yeah. There's circumstances where it could definitely come into play and be super helpful, but not a huge fan of it. It is nice to have that option, though, available to you. And then again, the brand, you have your brand. That's another thing to synergize with, of course.
Yep.
And this is synergizing with your Crimson Right and the brand. So there's that. Great on there. So lots of synergy going on overall on here. And then the Blood Curse of the Exorcist, being able to end stuff is great. Cool.
Good party help there.
Right. And then the final capstone, Right to Revival. You have more use with the Crimson Right.
If you stay alive, you're doing more things as a Blood Hunter.
Exactly. So lots of synergy on the abilities here between each other and between your base class abilities.
Yep.
We went with a 4.5 on the synergy for this subclass.
And something I told Jameson when we were kind of discussing this earlier, if we ever do a half scoring on something, it's like, why is it not the half up? Primarily what makes it come down from a 5. And with Blood Hunter, because there's no abilities you get to just do a ton of times.
Right.
Especially until you get like higher levels and you got 3 or 4 uses per short rest. A lot of this stuff is once per short rest, once or twice per short rest. You can't do this stuff all the time, but they do last for multiple rounds or for a whole short rest. So it's there, or like with the right thing, you can redo it if you take damage to yourself, if you need to change the weapon type. So there's options there, but because of limited number of uses, it does give it a little bit of a nick.
Right.
But still,
and that's the thing too, is if you're in a campaign where you're only fighting on average 1 combat per short rest, you're not going to feel that detriment at all, and this is going to feel a lot stronger than how we're rating it.
Yes.
But if you're fighting 2 or 3 or 4 times between short rests, you're going to have some issues a little bit.
You might.
You have to be very careful when you use your abilities. But that's it for today, guys. Just keep it short and sweet. We have 3 more subclasses available for the Blood Hunter. Make sure you check out, again, the base class video if you haven't already.
Because if you're not familiar with this already, you're probably going to have to watch that video to understand the stuff we're talking about.
You're like, what's a Blood Maledict? What's a Crimson Brand of Castigations? A Crimson Right? So yeah, make sure you check that out if you don't know.
Did you say brand of castration?
Whoa, yikes. That's an entirely different thing.
Okay, just making sure.
Anyways, we'll just end it right there. Good point. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so whenever our new videos are coming out. Let us know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on the Blood Hunter and the subclasses. Yes. What you want to see from us in the future. If there's other homebrew or other different classes or subclasses you want to see from us, let us know. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.